Yep. Yes.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute here. We just ask that everybody please keep their microphones muted and their videos turned off while they're not talking. And welcome.
Candace, you can just let me know when you need like the next slide. So I will just do it on my end.
Okay, thank you.
Same for you, April.
So I guess we can go ahead and get started. Are we ready, Flora? I have a thumbs up. Okay, great. So good evening to each of you. We welcome you to the Home Ownership Program Orientation with Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. This is safe space. Couple of ground rules that we'll have. As Flora mentioned, please keep your lines muted and your cameras off. We will have question and answer moments for you throughout the segment. So if something pops on your heart or your spirit to say, please hold on to it until the question and answer time. You can move to the second slide, Elizabeth. So before we get started, I want to just give some resources here. One of which is Catholic Charities Credit Counseling. The website and phone number is there. They provide assistance with budgeting, money management, really looking at your financial house, if you will, to see how ready you are or how prepared you are, and to give you points on getting more prepared for home ownership or meeting whatever financial goals you have. And then there's the housing resource line, the website, as well as the phone number to give you more information, not only about home ownership, but about housing resources here in Richmond and surrounding areas. You can advance, Elizabeth. Okay, what we have here is just our agenda for tonight. We'll cover exactly what a community land trust is. I'll introduce myself formally to you, and our other team members will discuss eligibility and the benefits of home ownership through the CLT. We'll also talk about ground lease, which is a huge portion of what we do, how we can do what we do. And we'll talk about some of the differences in between renting and conventional home ownership. And if you acquire a home through us, we'll also talk about selling the home. And then we'll also go over the application process. So I will introduce myself first. I am Candace Turner. I am the Director of Home Ownership with Maggie Walker. Community Land Trust. As I mentioned, it is a privilege and an honor to have each of you here this evening. And I will turn it over to Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Munyon. I am the home purchasing coordinator with Maggie Walker, and I'm excited to be here with you all tonight. I'll pass it over to Flora.
Hi, everybody. My name is Flora Valdez-Tapena. I am the communications coordinator for the CLT. So I'm here to manage the Zoom and the YouTube channel and the emails and all of those things. So welcome, everybody.
April. Okay, let's move on to Leah.
Oh, April, do you want to go ahead?
Here you are.
Can you see me?
We cannot
No.
see you, but we can hear
Okay.
you.
Hi, I'm April Ward, the Homeowner Engagement Coordinator, and I am the point of contact for all of you post-closing.
Thank you, April. Leah?
Hi, my name is Leah Coltrane. I am an AmeriCorps volunteer working with Maggie Walker. I primarily take care of the application intake and point of contact for people who are just getting introduced to the organization. I'm really happy to be on this call tonight and lead my part of the presentation. So I'll talk to y'all real soon.
And then also we have Jen Cox, who's the realtor for Maggie Walker. Jen?
Hi, everyone. As Candace mentioned, I'm Jen Cox with Jen Cox Realty, and I am the realtor for the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. I am here to answer any questions you may have about the real estate transactional side of things of this process.
Thank you. And are there any of our mortgage lenders on the call tonight? Okay, sometimes we do have mortgage lenders on our calls. I don't hear any tonight, but you will see on our website a list of lenders that we do work with. Okay, so we'll start with a question, and that is, what excites? Thank you, Flora. So you have a poll that just popped up for you before we go into another question. So if you can take a moment to answer the poll, you should see, can you tell us a little more about yourself? Check whatever is applicable to you. And while you're answering that, if you don't mind, if you have access to the chat, if you could also put in the chat how you found out about us, that would be helpful as well. Seeing word of mouth, the news. Thank you for sharing that. Flora, how are we on our poll?
Yeah, I think we're there. So it looks like we have a lot of people here interested in purchasing a home. Very fun. Very nice to meet all of you. We got a realtor, of course. We have a handful of interested citizens, a couple affordable housing folks, and some other folks as well. So welcome to all of you. Thank you all for coming.
Awesome. So we want to hear from you guys. What excites you about home ownership? Please take a moment to, if you are so inclined, to take yourself off of mute and answer that question for us, or put it in the chat. Either way, we'd love to hear what excites you about home ownership. Privacy, okay?
To build equity.
Equity, awesome. The equity a couple of times. A place to finally call my own. Not paying rent. Legacy, ownership. It's great answers here. Past investment, okay. Being a part of an established community. Valerie, that's a good one. So quite simple, thank you all, and keep the answers coming. Quite similarly, there's the opposite of the side of the coin with that, right? So we're also interested in what may make you a little nervous or afraid of home ownership. So we want to acknowledge that even coming to this class, to this info session, is a huge step. So we acknowledge your ability to do that, right? But we also know that sometimes with home ownership comes a little bit of fear and maybe nervousness, responsibility for major repairs, Absolutely. Any others? What makes you nervous or afraid of home ownership?
If you qualify, being notified if you qualifying for certain things or not.
Okay. Qualifications, eligibility. Thank you, Tiffany. Wanted to move to another state. Okay, Denisha, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Property taxes. And some of your, thank you, qualification process. And hopefully we'll answer a lot of your questions tonight in this info session. Okay. So I want to, and feel free along this to continue to answer those questions and put any questions that you have in the chat. So I want to mention, you can go to the next slide, Elizabeth, our namesake, Maggie Walker. Okay, and in 1903, Maggie Walker founded St. Luke Penny Savings. And of course, that was right here in Richmond. She is the first African-American woman to charter and preside as president over a bank. She did many things to uplift and empower Black families and people wanting to start the entrepreneurial process. And, you know, one of the things that she was concerned about was making sure that people had a seat at the table. And even then, building the table where there was no seat, right? So I don't know if anyone is from Richmond, but right on, forgive me for not remembering the side street, but it's second, and I can't remember what the side street is where Consolidated Bank and Trust is, which was Penny Bank. So we have Legacy right here in Richmond. That building is still there. It's no longer called Consolidated, but the building is still there. Also, if you're familiar, Maggie Walker's home is on Lee Street. And there are a few things throughout the city. So we honor her and her legacy in the work that we do. And we, you know, definitely look some other things up about her to find out more about Maggie Walker and her legacy. Next slide. Thank you, Elizabeth. So we're going to talk a little bit more about two key roles of the Community Land Trust. Thank you again for your answering those questions about how did you find out about us. I know someone mentioned the news, but basically our work is through affordable home ownership. So there's the land bank side, which is where vacant properties come to us. They come to us through a few different channels, but because of that, we're able to offer permanently affordable home ownership. And I know affordable is relative, but we'll talk a little bit more about AMI and ways that we calculate what affordability is based on the average median income, which is AMI. Part of us being able to offer permanently affordable housing is to ensure that there's diversity in our neighborhoods and opportunities for home ownership, hopefully in some of the areas and neighborhoods that you grew up in and love. Next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Community Land Trust. Can you use your icons and put your hand up if you even know what a Community Land Trust is? Use the icon if you've even heard of that, okay? Next slide, Elizabeth. We'll go in a little bit more about the history of Community Land Trust. So Community Land Trust started as a spinoff of the Civil Rights Movement. It was a grassroots movement. The first one was called New Communities Incorporated. And you can see from some of the pictures here. And basically, it was an opportunity for Black citizens who were sharecroppers and were getting removed from their homes to actually keep the land, right? So they were being removed from their homes because they registered to vote. So community land trusts are not, it's not something new. It's something that has been around for a while, but we are just starting to see an uptick in this concept and paradigm shift for us now, way of getting into home ownership. So the intention was to farm the land together all of the homeowners to farm together and everyone to own their homes. And they shared a piece of the land. Okay, so again, the history is there. We're bringing it to Richmond at this point, but it was a Black-led organization and movement. That's how Community Land Trust started. Next slide, Elizabeth. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that, but it's also a nonprofit community-based organization, and it's designed to steward the land. So to make sure that we are able to take good care of the land and provide permanently affordable home ownership for people experiencing low to middle income. The other part of that is to keep that particular land affordable for future buyers. So I know someone mentioned legacy. Legacy is important to us. And so that's why we have this model to make sure that there is affordable home ownership or opportunities in the future. Okay, Elizabeth. Okay, so when you buy a home on the conventional market, you're purchasing the home. And on the conventional market, meaning other ways outside of community land trust, you're also purchasing the land. This is a little bit different in the sense that you are leasing the land, okay, with a community land trust. So you purchase the house at a subsidized rate, and then the land is what remains in the trust. You are leasing the land and use it the same way as anybody else would. So in other words, there's no difference in terms of what you can do for the most part with your land other than or in comparison to someone that purchases a home in the conventional format. Now, when it's time to sell your home, you only sell your house, but the land will never be sold. The next buyer will need to meet the income qualifications and requirements to buy the home at an affordable price, just as the original purchaser, or if you purchase how you did. They agree to the same sort of resale structure when they sell, and that's how we're able to keep the house affordable. I'll take a moment here to also mention, going back to what someone said was a reason for their desire for home ownership, they mentioned legacy. And this is a part of legacy. We'll get into this a little bit later in the slides, but part of this is you'll be able to pass on the home if you were to keep the house. You'll be able to pass that on, which is a valuable part of what we do as well. Next slide. So part of what we do, all of what we do, the foundation of what we do is centered on racial equity and wealth generation, also community control and collective decision-making. So when you work with Maggie Walker, since we are a community land trust, what's important to us is that you become part of the community, right? We consider ourselves a family of homeowners. So not just homeowner here, homeowner there. One of the things that's different about us is not only our model, but trying to steward the land and build a community of homeowners. So the model balances the interests of the individual as well as the community. We look at things as a collective. And so that's the main model for CLT, for a community land trust, and the values that we have. And we're going to look into the benefits of home ownership through community land trust. I know there are a lot of acronyms in here, so CLT stands for Community Land Trust. And I will pass it on to April.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All righty. The benefits of the CLT homeownership model. CLTs benefit the homeowner in several ways. There are some of the most affordable homes that you will find in the Richmond area. By affordable, we mean that they are ready to move in, not fixer-uppers. All of these homes have been recently rehabbed or newly constructed, FYI. The CLT also allows the homeowner to build wealth over time. through their monthly mortgage payment and the way that these homes increase in value with wages instead of the market. Next slide. The CLT model allows us to keep our neighborhoods diverse and vibrant, even as housing prices in the Richmond area tend to rise. Without a program like Maggie Walker Community Land Trust, homes in Richmond will continue to be unaffordable. CLTs can combat Black land loss and displacement, build community wealth, and strengthen community health and well-being. They can be used as tools to reducing speculation and gentrification as well. Next slide. Now, program eligibility. For our program, you must be 1 income qualified, agree to the terms of the ground lease, be approved for pre-qual or pre-approval for a minimum of $150,000 from one of our approved lenders, cannot own another house at the time of closing, and you cannot have assets more than or equivalent to 25% of the unsubsidized sales price of the home. Now, this slide, this shows the income requirements or income limits, I should say. It's based on the number of people who live in the new homes, in the home when you purchase it. So there are 2 income limits. This is based on the funding and locality. It varies from house to house. You cannot make more than this to be eligible for our program. You will see that this is based on AMI. AMI means area median income. And these numbers are determined by HUD each year. For example, if you have a household of 2 people and the house you want to purchase is 80% AMI income limits, you cannot make more than $64,450 in order to qualify for that home. This map shows a brief overview of where we have homes currently, located in Northside, Carytown, Jackson Ward, East End, Eastern Henrico, Randolph, Southside, Chesterfield, and Ettrick is coming soon.
Thanks, April. And I wanted to mention that one of the things April mentioned was the AMI, and those numbers are changing in May. So be on the lookout for that. Those numbers are changing. If you check the HUD website, you'll be able to see that. But I just wanted to mention the numbers are changing soon.
And it will probably go up more than likely and not down.
Correct. We will turn it over to Elizabeth to discuss ground lease.
Okay. So we're going to talk a bit about the ground lease, which is really the meat and bones of how our program works and how we're able to have a program that not only keeps the home affordable to you, but to buyers in the future. And so most of the program is based by this ground lease, and this ground lease is a legal document that restricts the price of the home, restricting the price that it can be resold, and ensures that this home remains affordable for at least 99 years. And that 99 years, that is intended to go beyond your life and probably that of your children. And it is fully inheritable. So your home can be passed down to anyone via your will or your heirs by state law. And just a side note, as part of our program, we offer will and life planning documents for all buyers at the closing process, and this is free of charge. And this is intended to really go over these important life documents and get all your ducks in a row. Also to show that if your heirs try to live in the home as their full-time residents after you pass, they will either continue on the current ground lease and they have the option of starting a new ground lease, which at that point, that 99 years would start again. and the home would continue to be affordable for another 99 years. However, if your heirs don't want to live in the house, they can sell it and get the same proceeds from the sale that they would have if you had sold it before passing away. So this ground lease fee is $100 a year, and you will be invoiced directly from MWCLT 4 times a year for $25. This is not part of your escrow. So you can, or if you would prefer, you can pay the lease in one chunk of $100, whichever you prefer. Our board of directors has the authority to raise this ground lease fee any year ending in 0 or 5, but they are limited to how much they can increase it. So they are only allowed to increase it by the same rate as the consumer price index, and it can never exceed $250 a year. And a little more about our board. We are run by a board of directors that is currently composed of 1/3 homeowners, 1/3 public members, and 1/3 community members. So if you are considering Maggie Walker Community Land Trust home ownership, I hope you consider joining the board or serving on one of the committees that advises the board in their decision-making process. So what is unique about CLT home ownership? So this must be your primary residence. For example, let's say that you meet someone and you decide to move in with them. You would need to sell your MWCLT home so that this is another opportunity for someone else to go into their own home. Further on that, you cannot turn it into an investment property or rent it out. No Airbnbs. This is a home that you are the primary resident of. So there are some exceptions to the rule on a case-by-case basis. So some examples of this could be if there's a military deployment situation or a family situation that would require you to be out of your home for an extended period of time. And in that case, you would have to get approval from the board. So secondly, all renovations must be approved. Anything that requires a permit from your local jurisdiction. So this would be major repairs like taking down a wall, putting on a deck. However, you can do minor things without any problem. So you can move in and paint your house, change the hardware, light fixtures, mount a TV, anything like that is allowed. But just anything that would require a major renovation has to be approved by the board. And the reason that we require this is so that our buildings are up to a certain standard, so that they're done well and that they're safe. And we also want to ensure that all renovations are going to serve future homeowners. So we don't want anyone to build a bowling alley in their house if future home buyers might not want that. So that's why we really want to know about major renovations. And then thirdly, you will build equity. So you build equity from your down payment, your monthly mortgage payment, as well as your home's increase in value. And I'm going to go into this in depth, but the home's increase in value is based on wages. It's based on the area median income. It is not based on market changes. And I'll go into that in a bit. But I'm going to take this time to see if anyone has any questions. And I'm going to first hand this over to Jen to tell us a bit about this lovely house in Carytown.
Yes, thanks, Elizabeth. So this property was sold in January, and we sold this property for $160,000. And I believe the square footage on this one was about 1,400 square feet. And yeah, so it's a beautiful, fully renovated home. One of my favorite features is the kitchen. It has the open floor concept. If you look at the pictures, what you see in the pictures is what you get when you purchase an MWCLT home. It's built with quality. Most of our properties come with hardwood flooring throughout, granite countertops, updated kitchens and bathrooms. So yeah, so now we're going to open the floor for questions.
Really quickly. sorry, while we're doing question time, I'm just going to run a poll. Gonna ask you, we told you earlier whereabouts we put our houses. I'm gonna run a poll really quickly that asks you which of those neighborhoods you might be interested in living, and also how many bedrooms you want your house to have. Feel free to not answer if it doesn't matter. This is just for our information. And now I will open it up.
Thanks, Flora. And really quickly, we had one of our lenders, Mary, join the call. Mary, if you are able to, please feel free to come off mute and introduce yourself to our future buyers.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm Mary White. I'm with Town Bank Mortgage. I have been working with Maggie Walker since the program started and believe that it's a great program, and all these folks that are sharing this information with you are awesome to work with. And I'm just really pleased to be a part of this, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. I might call on you in a little bit if we have any lending questions. I don't see any other lenders on the call. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up to you all, and feel free to come off mute and ask a question, or you can drop your question in the chat and we can take it from there.
Trying to get in.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. Let me see. I mean.
Miss Sharon, did you have a question? If you do, you're muted and we can't hear you.
No, thank you. Hello?
Hi, Erica.
Hi, I had a quick question. So I have a situation where my mom is disabled right now. And I know that y'all say you can't do any major renovations, but one of the renovations that if I wanted to make one would be in a house would make it like if I had to put a ramp in the front of the house, or if I had to have like a bathroom to be where you can roll in, she can have like a seat in the bathroom. I don't know if that would be considered a major renovation.
That's a great question. I am sure that we would let you do that. A lot of our houses are 1-story, and they do have, we are thinking often about, even though a house might not be officially ADA, legally, I guess, what's the word? We think a lot about accommodating mobility restrictions. And I'm sure that would be something that we could address.
I have a question. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Thank you.
You're welcome, Erica. And if once your question is answered, thank you for muting yourself again, Erica. I was going to mention, once your question has been answered, please go on mute so that the next person can answer. I will say, Erica, just to pick up from where Elizabeth left off with that, the Ettrick Landing community, while it is not, as Elizabeth mentioned, ADA, strict to ADA, how can I say?
Standards?
Strict ADA standards. Thank you, Flora. It is ADA parallel, meaning that the doors are wider. They do have showers with a very small lip. So there are two different things. You can have something that's ADA parallel, which has accommodations for wheelchairs, but is not ADA. What was it, Flora?
I don't know. I just said doesn't exactly match the standard.
Thank you so much. Because something like that would also include, depending on what the disability is, something like lower countertops or something like that. So while we may not have that in some of our homes, as Elizabeth mentioned, there are ways that we can accommodate. Were there any other questions for us or for Jen, the realtor?
Yes, I have a question.
In regards.
Okay, I think I saw Tony first, and then we can go to Tiffany.
Okay, my question is,
it may be, I've been dealing with kids too, but it may be, I might have missed it. The renovations, are you saying that you can't renovate your home?
Well, it depends on what you mean by renovation. So let me explain to you what we, how our homes are renovated. So our homes are either newly built or literally stripped to the studs and rebuilt. And as Jen mentioned, you can go on our website and see some of our homes. So our homes are completely redone. If you mean, Tony, building on new rooms or adding on something like that, then those changes have to go through our board to be approved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Tiffany?
All right, yes, ma'am. I had a question too. Talking about the renovations as well. Now I know some big renovations have to be improved, and I know that she was talking about like tearing down a wall or you know, a deck or something like that has to be approved. But what about adding like a fence? Say you got young children, say your home might be a corner home and you just want to have a fence. Does that need to go through the board as well?
So we have homeowners, to your point, that have put in fences. It is something that our team discusses, but I will tell you that fences have been approved, if that answers your question.
It also, I have something to add. Sorry. My mother-in-law lives in a corner house from MWCLT, and she put in a privacy fence, so not a full like post fence, but a privacy fence. And I don't believe needed approval for that. And so it depends on the type of fence that you put in. If it requires a building permit from the city or the county, that is going to need approval from the board as well. But if it doesn't require a building permit, then you're good.
Yeah.
I don't know if people have asked me about above ground pools as well. I don't know if those require building permits, but if they don't, then you're fine.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay, Elizabeth.
Hi, you may not hear me super well, but my name is Nick Green with United Real Estate, and I had a question regarding closing costs and how the closing costs are organized, especially in the instance of, let's say one of my clients wants to resell the home in 2 to 3 years due to relocation or any of that given opportunity that would maybe require them to leave the home. In an instance of maybe wages in the area not increasing at all within 3 years, could my client potentially end up losing money in the closing cost of selling the home later on?
Well, we'll definitely cover our resale formula later on in this presentation. In terms of closing costs and those expenses, specifically when the purchase is made, there are different grant and funding opportunities to assist with that a lot of our homeowners have used. But to answer your primary question, Nick, in terms of the resale structure, we'll go over what that looks like for the homeowner later on in this presentation. Any other questions?
Ms. Cosby, Sharon Cosby, I think you had a question. If you would like to unmute yourself.
I'm on mute.
You're good.
We can hear you.
I was wondering, I'm 62, but I was looking preferably like a home that is like a bungalow because I have a leg issue, and I've been seeing houses, but for me, do y'all get a lot of them type of homes because I have a leg issue, so I can't do a lot of stuff.
Yes, so our homes in Randolph, in the Randolph community, are literally one-story homes. And sometimes we do get properties that come into our pipeline that fit that, as it did in the house that's pictured on your screen right now. That is a one-story home. So we do get homes that are one-story as well.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay, Elizabeth, do you want to go on?
Yeah, so
I think
I'm
somebody
gonna
else
go-
had a question.
Uh-oh.
Oh yes, I had a question. Sorry about that. So I just wanted to know, I wanted to know how far in advance do you have to start the process? Because like for me, my lease is not up until sometime next year, you know. So I just, wanted to see how long the process takes and so forth.
Yeah, so the process, it can take a variety of times depending on what we have available and then what you're looking for. So if you have a very specific location that you want to be in, that potentially we might not have homes in that specific area, it could just depend on that. And then, but if you go through the actual application process, that shouldn't take too long. It's more of just kind of what we have available and then what you're looking for.
Okay, got you. So I guess like after you do the application and you get approved for everything, and then a specific area that you want to be in, if it's not available, then you would just wait, I guess, until it comes available, and then you'll stay on the list or something.
Yeah, and we're going to go in depth into that application process.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, we have one more question that I know Flora loves to answer. What would happen to the land ownership if the trust had to be dissolved due to some drastic circumstance?
Yes, a very good and fun question that I do love to answer. So there are provisions in the bylaws and the ground lease that you will sign when you buy your home that basically say that if the CLT were to dissolve while you are, in your home and you're leasing the premises from the land trust, in that case, then a successor organization would be appointed, and a successor organization meaning another nonprofit that has a similar mission. That could continue the ground lease, continue the community land trust program, or decide how to phase it out in the best interest of the homeowner. And then failing that, I believe there is a right of first refusal to purchase the land for the homeowner. But with the successor organization is the main kind of thing. But we don't foresee that necessarily happening. The ground lease is 99 years. And obviously there's no telling the future, but we hope we're around doing this in 99 years. Who knows? So yeah, that's the best answer I have for that question.
Thank you, Flora. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue with our presentation. In the interest of time, I'm going to talk about how CLT home ownership compares to renting. Just by a reaction in the chat, how many of you are currently renters?
Me.
But I'm assuming, let's see, we'll look at this chart. So as you know, when you rent your home, you do not keep any of your rent payment when you move into another home. So this right here, this is a chart that simply shows your monthly rent multiplied by 24 months, multiplied by the number of years that you are in your home. So the purpose of this example, we're going to look at paying $1,200 a month in rent, which I believe is the median Richmond rent right now. And then looking at that after, it's not, I don't know.
It's around 1,600 now.
1,600? Okay, well, we chose this number also because this could be an estimate of how much your monthly mortgage payment will be. I'll get to that in a second. But after about 5 years of just paying rent, you've spent about $72,000 in rent alone, and that is money that you do not get back. So with home ownership, you keep all of the equity that you earn by paying your loan principal along with your monthly mortgage payments. This right here is an amortization schedule. And for the purpose of this example, we're going to look at a home that was purchased January 1st, 2023 for $180,000 and 3% down. And we chose this example again, just this is about what could be a potential monthly payment for a house going for 180. And we'll show here that after the first year, the total that you pay to the bank for your loan does not change. So you pay that same amount every year, but what does change is what goes into principal and what goes into interest. And as you pay down your principal, and that's the number that you borrow from the bank, things start to shift and more money goes into principal and less goes into interest. And now I'm going to call on our lender on the call, Mary, to ask us or tell us, sorry, what would happen if this person put one extra mortgage payment per year towards their principal?
You would knock 7 years off your mortgage. So you could pay your mortgage loan off in 23 years. And you can do that by either making that single payment once a year or taking that payment and dividing it by 12 and just adding that extra 1/12 each month to your mortgage payment, which might be a little more doable than one lump sum once a year.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so also this starts to shift that balance between what's going into interest and what's going into principal sooner. So we really encourage folks to think about that one extra payment. It really does great things in the long run. Again, so for the purpose of this example, we are not assuming any extra mortgage payments. This individual in this example is just paying their mortgage on time, just the amount due. But after 5 years, they've accrued $14,709 of equity, and this is just by paying the mortgage on time. And so if the buyer was to sell this property at any point, they would have $14,700 in equity that they pay into the house. And this is instead of paying rent. And this is including the increase in value of the home that is based on the area median income. And so I'm just going to use this same information, but showing it in a graphic form to show how your mortgage works. So this big blue box, so let's say your monthly payment is $1,200, but the amount that you're paying into your interest and to your principal, the big blue box, that's your interest, and the principal, that smaller number is there. So most of your money is going into interest, just about a quarter of it going into principal. And then by year 15, you are paying that same amount, that $1,200 over the course of your monthly payment. But now about half of your payment is going into interest and half is going into principal. And then by year 25, assuming that you haven't made an extra payment, most of that money is going towards your principal with only a little bit going into interest. And also this concept is true for all or most mortgages, not just the CLT program, but we just want to show how you build equity just through paying your monthly mortgage. And then also included in your monthly payment is your escrow. And the escrow is a part of your payment that includes your insurance and your taxes. So usually your taxes are due every 6 months, and it can be a pretty hefty sum. But the bank wants you to make sure that we're paying both those the insurance and the taxes, because if you don't, you could lose your house. So instead of making you pay this twice a year in big sums, it's divided up into those 12 monthly payments, and goes into your escrow account. So the bank uses your escrow to pay the insurance company and then the locality in which you live. So this green box here in the graphic, that shows your escrow. So while you're paying your monthly payment, this $1,200 every time you make a payment, that does not fluctuate, but your taxes and insurance, that can kind of fluctuate from year to year, but it doesn't fluctuate as much as renting can fluctuate, which I'm sure many of us know every year or so. Rent can really increase pretty dramatically. So I'm going to hand this over to Jen to tell us about this home.
Okay, yes, this is our home located over in the Blackwell community, which is currently for sale. And if anyone on the call is interested in trying to get qualified to see if you can purchase this home, all applications are due by April 12th. And I just want to confirm with Elizabeth and Candace that we still have time if they can jump in and get their realtors on board, get their pre-approval and fill out the application. So this property is a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom home, newly built. This home, as you can see, hardwood flooring throughout, ceiling fans, recessed lighting, all stainless steel appliances. This property also conveys with a refrigerator, which is not in this picture, and also a washer and dryer. So I'm going to hand it back over to Elizabeth to see if we have any questions.
The one question in the chat, Mary went ahead and answered. Thank you, Mary. But it's just about recapping this extra payment.
And I wanted to add, and Mary, please feel free to come off mute and speak to that. But what I wanted to add to that is, while we would love for you all to come into the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust family, into our community, what's also important to us is that if your goal is home ownership, that you get to that goal by any means necessary. And again, we would love to be the route that you take to get there, but we want to also support your efforts in doing so. And so we're glad that when our lenders can come on board, like Mary White, to kind of speak to not just the path to home ownership, but to how to get that mortgage paid down. So if you don't mind, Mary, can you recap a little bit more about making that extra payment, what kind of impact that has on paying down your mortgage?
Sure. So, a lot of times everybody thinks that the only way that you're going to reduce your mortgage term from 30 years to anything less is by paying a lot of extra money on it. But as I had mentioned, you only have to pay one extra payment a year to cut 7 years off your mortgage. So let's say your mortgage payment is $1,200 a month. So either you can pay an extra $1,200 payment each year, which means you're making 13 mortgage payments, not 12. Excuse me. Or you can divide your mortgage payment by 12. So if it's $1,200 a month, if you divide it by 12, that means you could put just an extra $100 a month onto your principal balance on your loan. And that also takes off 7 years. So sometimes maybe $1,200 all at one time seems like a lot, but it might be easier if you can break it down into a smaller monthly amount, because that's a lot more doable for a lot of folks. And even if you can't, make that whole amount, maybe just an extra $25 a month towards your principal balance. It's not going to necessarily reduce it by 7 years, but it'll take maybe 2 years off of it. And it still helps you to begin to build that equity in your home for yourself and for your future.
Thank you, Mary. Does anyone else have any questions? It can either be about lending, your mortgage payment, or anything about our program. You can feel free to drop it in the chat.
Yeah.
Or
there's one, Elizabeth. Someone asked, where's the house located? And this is located in the city of Richmond. And I forgot to mention the list price for this property is $180,000. So it's located in Richmond, and I put the address in the chat.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For some homes, what are, and just off the top of your heads, what are some mortgage rates? Like some homes that you sell, are the mortgage rates like 1,200? Are they less? Are they higher?
So our sales price, what we sell the house for, we're trying to get it to be like an average of 180,000, and that's kind of fluctuating. It can be lower. We have some for like 160, 150, and then some on the higher end are around like 210, 205.
I think she was
And
asking about the monthly.
Like the monthly payment.
Yeah,
yes,
like
it's
monthly
gonna
payments,
depend on the sales price of the home and then your individual circumstance.
Right. So Tiffany, there isn't a, that's hard for us to answer because that will be based on your own credit, your own situation. That's something that your specific lender would be able to answer for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and our lenders are listed on the website with contact information there. But to your point, what Elizabeth was also mentioning is they will look at how much the house is, but you're also, the lender will tell you what you are approved for. And once they tell you what you're approved for and they run the numbers, they'll be able to tell you, based on the amount of the house, as Elizabeth mentioned, what that monthly payment would look like. But that is an individual conversation. Any other questions before we move on? You're welcome.
We have a question asking to clarify the escrow payment. Let's see, would Mary like to take a stab at that? I can answer it too, but I know you're an expert, Mary.
About the escrow?
Yes. So how is that
Yeah.
paid? Kind of, what does it entail?
So the escrow is basically like a savings account where when you make your mortgage payment, part of your mortgage payment is going towards real estate taxes, part of it towards homeowners insurance. And every time you make your monthly mortgage payment, the lender's going to pull the money for taxes and insurance out of your payment and deposit it in the escrow account. You don't get access to that escrow account, but the lender has access. And then what happens is when that tax bill comes due or homeowners insurance bill comes due, the lender then goes into the escrow account, withdraws the money that they need to pay the bill on your behalf, and then they pay that tax bill, pay that homeowners insurance bill. The nice thing about having the escrow in your mortgage payment is that if the lender accidentally makes your payment on taxes, for example, late, the late fee, the lender has to pay. So as long as you're making your normal monthly payment, you're kind of pushing off the responsibility to get those bills paid to the lender, which is kind of nice because then that just means you've got two bills you don't have to worry about.
Thanks. Does anyone else have any questions? If not, I will go into talking more about taxes. Let's see. There's a question about homes available. The only one that we have currently available was the house in the last slide. But they come in waves often, and we'll have some more this year.
And we show the homes as they become available to people who are already approved. So it's like we don't advertise them out at first. So apply first and get approved first, and then we will show you homes when they become available.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, so taxes. One of the great things about our program is because Maggie Walker CLT operates as the land bank for Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield. The land is tax exempt. So you are responsible for all of the taxes on your house, but you do not pay taxes on the land. And this is another affordability feature that helps our buyers, especially in a high value real estate market. You're not paying property land taxes. So that's another great feature about our program. So maintenance, you are responsible for the upkeep of your land. So this includes mowing your lawn, taking care of dead trees, etc., fixing any home features. So like a broken appliance, leaky roof, broken window. But we do have a warranty, and we also let's see. I forgot what I was going to say. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So now you're going to want to listen up. We're going to talk about the resale formula. So this is what happens when you go to sell your community land trust home. And this is a bit different than on the traditional market. So when you go to sell your home, you are entitled to get back your cash equity. And so that is your down payment, your earned equity. And this is the loan principal that you've paid off by your monthly mortgage payments. And then you're also entitled to get back your home's increase in value. And again, this is based on the percentage increase in area income, not the market. So I'm going to go through a bit of an example. This is one of our homes that was sold in the Randolph neighborhood. This home was appraised for $261,200. And then we were able to sell this home for $180,000 through subsidies. So this homeowner, they borrowed less money from the bank. They had lower monthly payments and they had a lower down payment than they would have if this home was just on the traditional market and appraising for $261,000. So this resale formula that we look at, when you go to sell the house, we start at the original sales price, which was $180,000. And then we calculate the increase in the area median income in the time that you've owned your home. So the year that this home was purchased, the area median income was $83,200. But then when this house was resold, the AMI, and the purpose of this example, it went up to $90,200. So the AMI increased, let's see, by $7,000, which is about 8.41%. And traditionally, the AMI has on average increased about 2% in the Richmond area. Things have kind of changed since COVID and whatnot, but we do expect that AMI increases instead of decreasing. However, historically, this has not been the case at all, but if the AMI does decrease while you're living in your home, you are able to sell the home for what you purchased it for. So you will not lose money. Like at a minimum, you will be able to sell it for what you purchased it for. So just with that in mind, we multiply your sales price by 8.41%, which is that percent increase. And that number is $14,580. So the equity would be $14,580 that your home has increased in value. And then in addition, you are entitled to your down payment that you put into your home and any principal that you've paid through your monthly mortgage payments. And just to look back at our amortization schedule, we went through this earlier, so that by the 5th year, so that this person has been in this home, they've accrued $16,225 just by paying their monthly mortgage payment. So when we go to look at equity, this person in 5 years has accrued $16,225 from down payment and principal. That's just by paying the monthly mortgage payment. $14,580 from the home's increase in value. And that's a total of $30,805 in equity total.
And let me add something to that, Elizabeth. That is if the person is also not utilizing what Mary mentioned about paying a little bit extra to the principal. I just wanted to add that.
Thanks. So I'd like to show this visually here. So over those same 5 years that this person could have been renting, they would have spent $72,500 in rent. However, they accrued, this number is not correct, this is from my last slide, $30,805 in equity through Maggie Walker home ownership. So this model makes it possible to keep these homes affordable for future buyers. So this slide shows what we are reselling the house for to the next buyer. So this house was originally $180,000. And then over this 5 years, the increase in value that has been based on the area median income It's increased by $14,580. So we add those two numbers together to get the new price that this home will sell for the future buyer. So this new price will be $194,580. And so this future resale price is set so that another family in a similar financial situation will be able to purchase the home, thus keeping it affordable, balancing the interest of you as an individual, building equity, but also keeping the community and neighborhood affordable. Let's see. So Jen, would you like to tell us a bit about this home here?
Yes, this home is listed. Actually, we sold this home last year. It's located in Church Hill. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. It's a single family, but it gives the vibe of a townhouse feel. Again, this property, as you can see, consistent in all of our pictures. Quality, new build with hardwood flooring, ceiling fans, updated light fixtures, stainless steel appliances, and all of our homes do convey with washer and dryer. This property, let's see, this one sold last year, and I believe the list price, let me just make sure I'm correct. For this one was 180 also. Am I correct on this one, Elizabeth? I believe this sold for 180.
My notes say 160.
160?
180.
Okay.
We'll double check. And then I also have, maybe Flora can double check this, but was this a land bank property?
Huh? What'd you say?
Land bank property?
I'm checking.
I believe, yeah. We're gonna start adding some of the information on the slide, because as we start adding properties, they kind of run together. But
yes.
This one, hold on one second.
This is 1616, I think.
This was a land bank property, I do believe.
Yeah.
1616.
28th.
This is no, sorry. This is 1108 North 26th, which was a land bank property. Yeah.
Okay.
190 was the sale price.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Flora. All right, so we're gonna just open the floor for questions.
Yes, and I can answer, and Flora's here to answer if anyone has questions about the Richmond Land Bank. This is a house that you can tell us, Flora.
Okay, so this was a piece of land that the city had, that someone had owned and wasn't paying their property taxes on it, and it was vacant. And so the city foreclosed on it, but instead of auctioning it off to the highest bidder and turning it into, just another piece of land that's cycling through a bunch of speculators, they gave it to us instead, the land bank, and we turned it into an affordable home. And that's what we do. So if you want to learn more, come to our public meeting next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. richmondlandbank.com or for more information. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Are there any questions thus far? We're going to go into our next section, which is about the application process. So hold off on application questions, but if anyone has questions about the resale, mortgage, about a specific home, community land trust in general, is carpet added to the homes? I've never gotten this question before.
I guess you can do that. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can, I believe. But our homes are typically laminate or wood flooring.
The vinyl plank flooring.
Vinyl.
Some of that. Yeah. Or wood. I think this one is vinyl. If I'm looking, let me make the picture larger.
Tanisha, there is another question in the chat from Tanisha. Do we have to use the lenders on your site only? No, you do not have to use the lenders on our site only. However, we strongly encourage you to do so. And there are reasons for that. One is because the lenders on our site are very familiar with community land trust mortgages. They are not like traditional mortgages. And so they're accustomed to the process of that, and it gives way to a smoother process for you as the homeowner. So no, you do not have to use the lenders on our site, but we strongly encourage it because conventional lenders are not really used to the model of community land trust mortgages. And as I mentioned, we want you to have the smoothest process to homeownership as possible. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, and just going off that, you do have to make sure that your lender is able to lend for a community land trust home. A lot of them have stipulations in which they cannot. And then also you have to use a conventional loan.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we able to say, for instance, we get in one of the homes and say you outgrow it, are we able to go and apply for a larger one of the homes in the program?
Yes, you can. So we had our first instance of that happening about a year ago. We had a family who grew in size, and they moved from a 2-bedroom into a 3-bedroom home.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pass this over to Leah, our wonderful volunteer, to talk to us about the application process.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leah. I mostly oversee the management of your kind of applications as they roll in. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today about the process of applying with us. I'm sorry if I'm looking at you at a weird angle. It's just most comfortable for me like this. This right here is a current illustration of our process. Steps 1 through 10. The order in which these steps are completed, at least the first 4, are kind of up to you guys. In which you decide to give them to me or send them in. But usually steps 5 through 10 are all the same. You enter the pool and, you start receiving emails, and then we get you on your way into homeownership. I think I'm ready for the next slide. So here are just some images of the lenders who lend to MWCLT that we were talking about. You are by no means legally obligated to work with these lenders, but we definitely have a preference. So to purchase one of our homes, you must be pre-approved for specifically a conventional loan through one of these lenders, preferably.
Yes, and then we have a minimum requirement of 150,000.
Yes. I talk about that a little bit here. So this next slide shows an overview of the application process in its entirety. And shout out to everyone today for completing the first step, which is attending this info session. I know some people, it's not a lot of people's first step in this process altogether, but it's nice to get to be here today. So step 2 is you apply for a mortgage, pre-qualification through one of our approved lenders. After you leave here today, give them a call. Your pre-qualification plus your down payment and any grants must total at least $150,000 to qualify. So this is the $150,000 that Elizabeth was just referring to, that we have a minimum. We doubt if any of our homes that are coming up will dip below this price. So we've kind of created this to kind of give people an idea. This is how much homes are ranging from in our portfolio. The next step is to submit an application. You can find these on our website with your income verification documents. So you can fax them to me, you can email or mail them in. They're all accepted. And your income verification documents include 3 months of your latest pay stubs or benefit statements for each household member over 18, unless they're a full-time student. 6 months of your bank statements for all accounts and all adult accounts. 2 most recent federal tax returns and matching W-2s or 1099s or Schedule Cs. And then any record of assets over $5,000. So you get those all into me, and we kind of do a income calculation based on HUD approved numbers that they release every year. This is going back to the beginning of the PowerPoint talking about AMI. So we use these documents to verify that you qualify for our income qualifications, or they're technically limits, but same thing. So then you submit a certificate of your HUD approved education course as well. So we accept certificates from Virginia Housing, Southside Community Development, and then I think there's a third one that I'm missing if anybody wants to tap in about HUD approved classes.
Home Housing Opportunity Committee.
Oh my gosh, thanks everyone. That's probably one we get most frequently, because home is also a place where you can get down payment assistance. Oh gosh, I love Google for logging me out. Sorry, give me 1 second. So yeah, there are all the places where you we accept HUD certifications from. And then once all your documents,
Catholic Charities as well.
Commonwealth Catholic Charities, they do a HUD certified class, April.
Yes.
Awesome. There are so many in the neighborhood, so feel free to choose from any of those. Some have specific grant opportunities like Southside Community Development and Housing Opportunities Made Equal. So check those out on your own respectively to see if those are the best options for you. So once you have all your documents submitted, 2 people on our team will process your application, and you will receive an eligibility or denial confirmation email upon completion. So those 2 people are normally me and Elizabeth, sometimes me and Candace, to kind of verify that you are eligible for the program. And then at this point, you will enter the applicant pool. Once you're in the applicant pool, you'll receive messages about available MWCLT homes as they come through our pipeline. Our 80% program is a little bit more frequent than people who qualify for our 115% AMI program. Just as a heads up, depending on where you fall in the income bracket. The applicant pool also differs from a traditional wait list. Every applicant has the opportunity to put a contract on a home that their loan can accommodate. And if multiple applicants put in on an offer on a home, we will utilize our buyer prioritization policy, which you can find on the same page as our application online. And I can speak to this, but we do this in order to provide housing based on need as opposed to how the regular market will operate. So these points include like being a first-time home buyer, how long you've lived in a certain neighborhood, just so we can kind of create a competition where it's based on the family that needs it the most, as opposed to the family with the most income. I think that's the last, yeah. All right, awesome. So here are just a list of some funding and grant opportunities that you can pursue. Flora will send out a PowerPoint, link to the PowerPoint at the end of this session or sometime tomorrow. So you can register with Home for counseling services and to access down payment assistance. You can apply for the VITA match program. You also have to meet their qualifications as alongside with ours as well. And then also asking our wonderful lenders about additional grant opportunities that their organizations might have. Sometimes they have little gems for our homeowners if you hit them up at the right time when the funding pot is really deep. And then you can expect your closing to take 45 days and allow 60 days if you take advantage of the grant opportunities, because it just takes a little bit longer for them to kind of redistribute those funds. So we try to accommodate that time into this process as well. And finally, you're interested, what do you do next? I suggest, tomorrow you get right on it. You contact one of our approved lenders for a pre-qualification letter to see how much money you would be approved for. And then I would review our application. You can pick this up in the office or you can access this online. So our office is located at 205 North Robinson Street, Richmond, Virginia. And then we collect these you would collect and send these documents to us. So we need your income document, your home buyer education certificate, and your loan pre-qualification letter. It's just like 3 basic categories of the kind of documents we need. And then you submit your complete application supporting documents through one of our following methods. So we accept them by scan and email applications. Sometimes photographs are also welcome if you don't have a scanner on hand. And you send these to applications@MWCLT.org, which is just an acronym for Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. You can scan them and fax them to 804-915-8946, which is a contact that a scan should come in anytime. But please email us a follow-up if you do scan them, just so we can make sure that we've received them. And then the good old-fashioned way, you can mail or drop them off hard copies to our office at 205 North Robinson Street in Richmond. So yeah, here are the housing resources that we brought up at the beginning. So Catholic Charities, they do credit counseling. If you do not feel like you are not ready to meet the credit requirements for pre-loan, they're a great resource to have to kind of give you an individualized plan. And then the housing resource line is also a great resource to connect with for more access to other housing services. Oh my gosh. Thank you, everyone, so much for your time tonight. This is just, do you have any questions? And then our emails and names are all up here. So if you want to reach out to us, you can, and you should.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much. So before we close out, I know there are some questions in the chat, but a few things. Our email addresses are there. Again, I'm Candace. You just heard from Leah. Previously, you heard from Elizabeth. You heard from April and Flora. April just turned on the camera. Hey there, April. And Jen, our realtor, is also online. And you also see Mary White, who's one of our lenders, also put her information in the chat. So a few things, like I said, feel free to reach out to us if you have questions. If you have questions that you don't maybe feel comfortable, you didn't feel comfortable tonight, putting those questions in the chat or speaking those questions, feel free to email me directly, Candace@MWCLT.org. And we're going to launch a quiz quickly before we leave. And it's not school, it's not counting against you. So it's just for us to learn a little bit more about what you did learn and what's been helpful in this session. So look over that as I'm speaking. There are 2 questions up right now, and there will be
There's 4 questions.
Yeah, this is 2 out of the 4 that are coming.
You got to scroll down to see the rest of them.
The other 2.
Yeah.
So I'll give you guys a moment to answer those, and then we'll talk about the poll and then do some final updates or questions, Q&As.
If you want, we can, there's some questions in the chat we can answer while folks are
Okay,
filling out the
let's
quiz.
go to that if you don't mind. Let's
Yeah.
see.
So Denisha asked, is everyone guaranteed a home if approved?
So unfortunately, there are no guarantees. We do use a prioritization model that Leah mentioned earlier. If there is more than one person that's interested in a home, and let me back up on that and saying, if you check our website right now, you will see houses that have sold. You don't see houses that are in the process of being sold or that are coming down the pipeline. And part of the reason for that, and if you check something like Zillow or Realtor.com, you won't see homes that are coming available either. Part of that is because for people that go through the application process and get on that waiting list, they get first dibs on whatever we have coming available. I think somebody is unmuted. So they get first dibs on whatever homes are coming available. So when homes come available, those that have put in the application and gone through that process, we shoot out an email to say, hey, house at 123 Alphabet Street is available. Are you interested? That is how the process goes. So again, it is almost like a white glove service, really, that we provide. You put in the application, we work with you through that process. Elizabeth is really great at making sure you get all the information you need. Leah processes the application. Elizabeth does the next leg work in that. And then we don't drop you after you purchase. April is here to help you the next leg of the way once you're even in your home. So we do consider this a family and communal way of doing things. You're welcome. You're welcome. Should we look at the poll now or go to the questions, Flora?
Let's give the poll a few more minutes. Just a
Sure.
reminder, folks, if you only see one question, if it's not letting you submit, just make sure you scroll down and look at the other questions. You do have to answer all of them before you hit submit. And also don't worry about it if you are having trouble with it, or if there's like answers that you don't know, don't sweat it. You're not being graded. It's not part of your application. So don't worry about that. Another question from Sierra, what percentage of applicants are approved?
What percentage of applicants are approved? Elizabeth, you may be better able to answer that question, but if you put in, if someone has completed everything with their application and they go through the process, then unless we have to use the prioritization model, there's no reason for them to not get the home. Some people are very particular about where they want to live, and rightfully so, in terms of if someone is dead set on, let's say, Chesterfield, and the homes that we have available are in Richmond, then they have the right to wait until a Chesterfield home becomes available. So in that situation, I hope you can understand what I'm saying. It's not that that person wasn't approved. We just don't have what it is that they're looking for, if that makes sense. I know there was a question about the model. And if you look at that home, you're welcome, Sierra. If you look at the home in that thank you, where our email addresses are listed, that is a typical right now Maggie Walker home, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home. So yeah, that's a good model or example of homes. Yes.
I think they might have been asking about the buyer prioritization policy.
With the model question?
What is that model? So do you want to talk about kind of what things we consider with the buyer prioritization policy?
Sure. So Leah mentioned some of them, but I'll mention some others. Like if the person is a former resident of public housing, that gets a point. Family size. Gosh, I'm trying to think of what Leah did not mention. And really it comes down to the greatest need as well. So in terms of household income, things of that nature play a role in it. I will say that some people have been very specific about what they're looking for, whether that's based on school districts or particular areas. Some people want to reside in the area that they grew up in. So we've been able to, I don't want to say match, but we've had a good history or experience of people identifying the house that they want and being able to get that house. So that has been what has happened in the past.
And I'm going to put a link to our buyer prioritization policy in the chat that you can read through, Amanda, if you're interested.
Thank you, Flora.
And I will just point out, I think kind of going off Tanisha's question about guaranteeing a home, you can remain on the wait list until you find the home in your neighborhood that you want to stay in, or the perfect floor plan, like if you need a first floor or have like specific requirements. You're not going to be picked off as long as you are within the income limits and have a pre-qualification letter that's about the price of your the sale price of the home. There's no time when you'll be kicked off the wait list or anything. Just as long as you remain income qualified, remain in communication with us, we're not gonna kick you off, or you don't need to like reapply.
No, thank you for mentioning that, Elizabeth.
Erica, did you have a question?
Yeah, let me unmute. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
You are unmuted, yes.
Okay. All right, so I want to ask about assets. So how much do assets play a part in the income part?
So
like, what do you consider assets? Is it like a car, like your retirement savings at work and stuff like that?
So for assets, we look at any kind of large financial pool of money that could be used towards a house. That could be like retirement, any savings account, any kind of IRA. Typically it will be not a problem for our buyers because we look at 20, and let's see if I can have the
5%,
exact formula. Yeah, it's 25% of the unsubsidized house. So let's say the house is like appraised at $300,000. It would have to be 25% of that. I don't think typically that's a barrier for our buyers. But again, we can look at it on a case-by-case basis.
So you're talking about like, so I'm saying like, okay, if my income is say $50,000 a year, and then you look at my 401k. So how much does that, like however much I have in there, how much of that do you factor in as far as to go with my income?
So it wouldn't count towards your income unless you're getting payment from that. But on your application, you will have to report it if it's over $5,000. But it won't count towards your income unless you're getting actual income from that asset.
Oh, okay, then that makes sense. That was my thing. I was trying to figure out if I'm not pulling income from it, do you count it? So that was really my issue. But I was just like, I do have a retirement, and I don't, I can't get it yet. I'm not getting it yet.
9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a problem. It's just meant for folks who could really benefit for our program to be able to be in our program. So unless you have a very, very large amount of assets, I would not worry about it. But we do have like an asset calculation that I can go into if anyone has specific questions or concerns. Just contact one of us.
And then I had one more question.
Yeah.
So you saying that it stays on file, like your application stays on file for as long as I am qualified. So how can I say? So I guess how often do I need to check if I'm qualified? Like say if I get a raise, do I
Mhm.
need to requalify myself, or
Yeah,
like
so
say if it's been a year?
that's a good situation in which you would want to check our income limits. And then, so if you get a big raise that could potentially put you over those income limits, that would be a situation in which you'd want to we'd want to relook at that. And we do check everyone's income when you are about to go under contract. And
Okay.
that's another point in which we'll qualify you.
Right.
So every year about April or May, HUD changes those income limits. And so we'll be in touch when those numbers update. And so one thing that could happen is if someone is currently in like the 115% program, but then the 80% AMI increase, or all of the AMI increases, but then you would go from the 115% program into the 80% program, you could be eligible for the homes that are selling for 80% of the AMI. Let me see if I can pull up
Gotcha.
the chart. Okay. These are our income limits now, but these will probably change. They definitely will change, but I don't know how much they'll change, but we expect that they'll change quite a bit as of May 15th or so.
Yeah,
So keep
mid-May
this
is
in mind.
when HUD expects to release
Yes.
the next bit of data.
And that is, so what you're looking at the 80% is the most
Yes.
income in the household.
Yeah, the
Yes.
maximum. Yes.
The maximum. So you can't.
So is that gross or net?
This is gross. Great question.
Okay.
And then I will just, let everyone know, like, don't stress too much about it at this point, because these numbers are going to change in about a month. So if you're
Okay.
nervous that you might be over, just
Hold tight. Because the change
Okay.
is coming.
Yeah, that's 60,
Okay.
might be 70. We don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
and a thing about
Yeah.
something about the AMI numbers is interesting is that they actually lag a couple years behind the like actual amount, because they are based on American Community Survey data from like a few years ago, and then they
Okay.
incorporate the Consumer Price Index increase to kind of estimate roughly where things should be at
Okay.
now. But if there's large
Okay.
increases in income that aren't reflected in price indexes, then sorry, I'm getting into I'm kind of a nerd, so I think about numbers a lot.
No. I understand numbers. You're fine with me because I understand numbers, because that's, as y'all are talking, I'm thinking about the numbers, because I'm thinking about, because I only have one child, and with having one child, it's been kind of hard because that dips me under ever so slightly of being in the income thing because of it's just me and him. But I possibly, I have to be with my mom will have to live with me as well this time too. So that's a difference. So that's another added income, and that's another added person. But previously, that's been the little pendulum. I've always been like just over the amount, and it's just because I have just one child. So that's why I asked that. So I'm always looking at the numbers, trying to make sure. So
And
I
Erica,
think y'all answered me.
yeah, feel free to contact us to speak with us a little bit more personally about your situation. We'll be more than happy to kind of go over things in more detail with you if you desire.
Yeah, I think I'll keep that in mind, because I do have a unique situation right now. And so I would like to, like I said, I'm thinking about the numbers just because I kind of like fall under a little bit sometimes.
Okay.
So, but I appreciate y'all answering my question. Thank you so much. Thank y'all for doing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Any other questions before we go to the poll? Okay, Flora.
All right. Not everybody answered, but that's okay. A bunch of people are planning on submitting applications right away. We're excited to see them. Some people need some more time, maybe some more information, but maybe it's not for them. That's okay too. Question 2 is true or false? MWCLT homes are fully inheritable. They can be passed down to your heirs regardless of income, as long as they'll use the property as a primary residence. This is true, and all of you got that right. So great job. This is that, that thing we talked about where the house can be passed down as well as the ground lease itself passed down. So question 3, what equity will you get back when you sell your MWCLT home? Your down payment, the loan principal you paid off through your monthly mortgage payment, or your home's increased value, or all of the above. Most of you got this right. It's all of the above. Your down payment is, the cash that you bring to closing. The loan principal you paid off through the monthly mortgage payments is your equity that you gain by paying the bank back for your house, and your home's increasing value is that extra. There's a word for it. I don't know the financial term for it, but that the increased value is how much, and then you get all of that back when you sell. How do MWCLT homes increase in value? Based on the market rate appraisal, based on the increase in Richmond area median income, or they do not increase in value. Most of you got this one right. It's based on the increase in the Richmond area median income. We don't want it to be tied to the market because the market is volatile, and the market is, taking homes and making them really, really, really expensive, so that nobody who lives here can actually afford to live here. So in order to counteract that, we tie it to incomes instead, because incomes increase usually at a much more predictable, reliable rate. So yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, well, again, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to look at our contact information on the website. You can reach any of us. Jen's information, our realtor, is also in the chat. And we look forward to hearing from you, whether that's through phone call or email. You can also look at or find us on YouTube. There are some sessions there as well, if you want to recap any of this. Thank you so much, and we hope you all have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.